Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here for the high probability watch list for the week of, and we're at the beginning of April here. We just had the jobs report today, so we're going to go into the week of April 6th. April 6th. It is a Friday. Paul's on the mic. I'm behind everything, behind the walls, the four walls, staying inside, keeping my distance, and hoping for a good turnout of this big virus pandemic. Going through doing a lot of research today, and I figured let's start off talking about the situation at hand. What's going on, the negativity, everything. We had some great interviews yesterday on the show from some very market savvy, I should say a market savvy person. And, everything looks bad. It looks bad. It looks like it's going to get worse. So in a position like this, instead of getting chopped up or trying to really navigate through these stormy waters, sometimes, and again, another analogy is to put that boat, in storage for a second. Let the storm pass, and then be able to sail these waters a little bit more easier. I'm doing a lot of scans today, and I'm just looking at quality names, and that's where I want to kind of focus. But yet those are even very hard to pick at this level if we continue to see maybe more bad news come out next week. Do we have that? But the one thing I will say, and kind of, I was going to, get a lot of thoughts in my mind before I started this recording here and talking about, do I want to make it more of a podcast and just talk about market conditions and talk about strategies, or show you some things. I want to show you some things that I'm getting into, but there is no rush at this point to getting hurt in the market unless there is something obviously there for us to pick up and to trade. And those stocks seem to be more of a short-term play, meaning that we get in the morning, as we usually do when we have news. We have breaking news and there's a stock running and we get momentum and we get in and out. I mean, seems to be the play right now. There's a lot of stocks that are coming out with news that connects them to the coronavirus, and that connects them to a trader's eyes, and people, and they typically come back down too. But there is there is trades to be had out there. Getting into something down here and just waiting it out, it's as long as it's quality, I don't feel that bad. I'm just going to bring up the S&P right here, the SPX, the S&P cash chart, and let's just kind of discuss that big trend line again. That big trend line that goes up to 2008 here. It's a parallel channel line. I just like the trend line. It goes way out here. Actually, I should go out on the weekly chart. You can't even see it here. There it is. So it goes out to 2008, connects here in 2011, 2012 area, and then continues here to 2000. Got close to it, 2016. We got close to it again in 2019. Didn't get down to it, and we're right down. And we actually flushed through it. And one of my laws in the HPS methodology is, trend lines are very important. They're high up on the list. And stochastics, trend lines, momentum shift, and divergences, and understanding how trend line works. And we all agree, we could come to an agreement that this market is full of algorithms and robotic trading units, black boxes, that are measuring out resistance lines, support lines, short-term, long-term, really long-term. This line here, this red line, is definitely something that the markets have looked at. Now, when you have news trumps, and I use that word lightly, news is greater than technical levels. I mean, if you have news and you're right on a technical level, the amount of volume, the amount of fear comes in, say it's bad news, and for example, we would break down to a technical level. That's just the way it is. There's a certain level there that people will buy, but if there's overwhelming selling pressure, you're going to break through those levels, and you're going to, those algorithms are going to pick up that's failed and probably even join to the downside. So when you get a flush through to a trend line, lots of time, what I like to see is, all right, why did that line break? 9 times out of 10, because there was a market order, a big market order. We talk buy programs and sell programs. on short-term charts. Sometimes that happens, or news. You know, in this case, it's definitely news. The overhang of the virus every single week has been super negative. So we're at that point where we did break down through this trend line, and we came back up to it. And when we come back up to it, we're back above it. This trend line still maintains that integrity, and I use this line all the time. It's the best line for it. It still has the history back here. Has this great history of holding up, and it's not going to go away. It's going to continue to stretch out in the distance. And this, every time the stock comes up to, or the index or anything you're trading comes back up to a recent trend line that really is established and has a lot of integrity, it will react in a better way. As long as there's no news, it should react the same way. Now, so we got down, we flushed through, end of the world scenario. We got a decent bounce. Again, another big indicator I like to watch is the 20-period moving average. Now look at how we punched up to the 20 here, and here. Then the more bad news, gap down, the more bad news. Now it's kind of a tug of war where we're on that trend line, but a lot of people expecting a retest of lows. And I would say if you're a talking head and you get yourself some airtime, the smart move is saying, yeah, the market needs to retest the bottom, hold that and bounce off of it before people start to confirm or allocate more money into the market. You really want to make sure this level holds up. So today, negative going into a Friday. We have a weekend. We expect more bad news next week. Can we get a gap down? Yes. Can we get closer to those lows? Absolutely. Can we go through those lows? Absolutely. I'm not going to play that guess. It's a guessing game at this point. You can't predict the future. If I would say, over the weekend, a trial came through, or they had some early results of a vaccine, anything positive. COVID-19 cases have dropped off dramatically in America, or deaths have slowed down. Any type of positive news on the coronavirus will be the true catapult, for this market. That will be the true catapult. Something very positive. It's not going to be about economic, and all those economic stuff is thrown out the window. No one's going to know how to read that properly anyway. Unemployment at this point, and and jobs, and who cares? We know it's going to be bad. Those numbers are going to be just like today. We had awful numbers yesterday. We had awful numbers today. Market actually rallied on both of those before rolling back over. So it wasn't like a reaction to tremendously bad numbers. And they're also saying the whispered numbers are now playing a big part in this. So how, I had to take a deep breath there. So we're back on the trend line. I want to go over some stocks and some techniques today that I'm looking at. And I'm pretty much not Order short. Submitted. Not Order long on the overall market. I am long stocks, but mostly longer-term options that are down the road, a few months down the road, out to a year down the road on some drug stocks. So, those could play out either way. I mean, if the market continues moving lower, I'm sure that's going to those will take a little hit, but those are just a different type of play. I have been buying some stocks. I picked up some more Boeing down here yesterday, and I'll talk about that. I still like the MDT. I still like the medical stocks, medical device makers. We're always going to have that business. That's where, there's always going to be someone who's going to need these, or there's always going to be a lot of people who are going to need these services. And right now, elective surgeries are probably going to slow down and stuff. But once things clear up, and they will clear up, there's going to be certain stocks and certain companies are going to jump right back up, and they're going to have good businesses. So we're going to focus on those too. Here's some alerts in the background. So I'm not going to make any predictions on here.
Order filled.
But that's the bot here taking a nice trade there. It's actually had a nice divergence trade on the rock bot. Right here you can see it. And you can see actually that the stochastic dip back up. This had a spike down. We had the candle now break higher, and it just took a fast profit. That trend line is right underneath us when we get a short-term view of that real long down. Remember, this line here goes back down to 2008, and we're right here on it right now. I mean, right now in history, we're back to that level. Some big more gongs there. I apologize that if that's annoying, but those keep me in tune to the market. I'm like a blind kung fu master. I could see the markets through the gongs. Well, I know there was a divergence starting to set up there, and if you are a member out there and you get those signals and stuff, pay attention to them. All right, so I was going to just say, hey, the point is, we're not going to predict when the tide is going to turn or when we're going to have that good news. But when we do have that good news, boy, this market's going to move. My opinion only, that we're going to get certain scenarios playing out. All right, one is we find that we get good news on the cure or vaccine. It's not going to happen for a while, but any type of positive news on that front will give people hope that they could go out and be cured of this and not have to worry about all this stuff, and that will give them a little hope. The faster we have a vaccine or a cure, man, that's great. That's going to be a big catalyst. But we'll probably move up ahead of that because the market does see things like positive results, and they might start buying the rumor, of something good happening down the road. The other thing, a change in the course of the disease. If the disease starts infecting less people, of course, that would be another big event. So these are the events we have to wait for. We got to kind of, protect your cash, short-term trade, in and out. If you have that, and concentrate on stocks with really good balance sheets. I think you're hearing that a lot on the news, but it's the truth. You want a stock that's going to survive if this gets worse and you decide to get into something here and you have some more downside. You at least want to have a fighting chance. You don't want to get into something that's not going to eventually make it, and you're going to be in just a bad trade and can't get out of. You're not going to have that bounce. So give yourself an opportunity to get that bounce. The list I have so far, are some well-known ones, some stocks. I did a full panel of stocks today, like a blood panel, but I did everything. I even looked at the IBD, which I think has a great scanner. Maybe I can bring that up for you, give you a free little view of that. This is the IBD 50. It's this paid. It's a paid service on Investors Business Daily, and they have a great way of listing fundamentally some of the best stocks out there that are working the best, and they rank these day by day or week by week, and these are the 50 best. Now, I went through all these. A lot of these, I put on here just to kind of give you an example, but you'll see some really good names on here now. Microsoft, NVIDIA, Adobe, Regeneron, Bristol Myers. Even Zoom's on here because of because of the positive. Netflix, Vive here, the teleconferencing. So you're seeing a lot of these stocks. This is a great way to start off your research. Just go on it. I'm giving you a free view of this because a lot of people don't have this list. These are some of the best stocks in the market right now, and it has a lot of data for it, and and it's actually real time. So it's pretty cheap a year too. I think I pay like $40 a year for the whole IBD. But they have, the IBD 50, which I like, and they have a lot of other good stock lists up here. They have, there's also some other premium things like under $10 stocks, which is interesting. But they have a lot of good stuff, research areas and stuff. It's well worth the investment in Investors Business Daily if you get it. So I went through all those, and I put some of those on the list, and some of my personal favorites, and we're gonna talk about them right now. It's actually been an okay week. It's been even though the market and staying inside, I think, is the worst thing. Just I'm starting to feel that cabin fever, starting to feel a little weirdness. I don't know if it's depression setting in or just anxiety. I know my wife came home last night from grocery shopping and she was crying, and I felt so bad for her. And I said, "What's wrong?" She goes, I'm scared." She goes, "Everyone's out there, everyone's wearing masks and stuff." And I felt real bad. And, thank God I said, "I don't want to go out there. I'm being like a big baby there." I'm like, because I'm I don't want to get infected. And then someone has to go out there. And I said, well, now I want to take my turn and go out and start getting the food too. We have to be a team at this. But I felt real bad because that must be affecting people, it's starting to affect people. Mentally. It's great that we have day trading radio, and not everyone, has that or has the opportunity to, to work with such a good group every day. And I thank you guys for being there for me and being there for the other traders. You don't understand how much that helps someone if you didn't have that. Imagine just sitting in your house alone and not being able to, share or enjoy, do things other than with your family, and then which is good. Nothing against that, but like I said, after a while you're going to take choice B. That's an inside joke. B. Boeing's starting to move here a little. So thanks everyone. Thanks for being part of the site, especially during these rough times. The start of the watch list, and again, it might not be a lot on here. These watch, again, it's about 2 o'clock now, and I've been researching for about 3 hours, making my list, checking it twice, and then I continue with the research as I do this video, and I'll pause it every so often. You won't get this, long drawn out dead air. I'll say, hey, I'm going to look at a couple more stocks. I'll pause it and be right back, and a second later we'll pick right back up. So you won't even notice it. But I always would like to start the watch list during the market day in case we see any live trades or any opportunities here. And I am seeing something starting to move here. Boeing here actually starting to move back up. So we'll start off with Boeing. Boeing, I believe, had a contract or a payment from the U.S. Navy for almost $1 billion. I saw that cross the wire last night. And I kind of like that. I said, well, that's good. Almost $1 billion that the Navy was holding back because of an issue with one of their products and stuff, and they were ordered to pay them and work on it later just to help them stay in, get that money going. So Boeing's actually looking pretty good. And $100 stock. I mean, could you see Boeing at $80? That's a big move down. I mean, it's still very tough to call a bottom on Boeing. $100 is a big number, but if we take a look back at this, we broke that $100. We bounced back up, and this is look identical to the market, right? Very identical. Almost very similar to the market's chart. There's the Boeing, and here's the SPX. So Boeing's a little bit weaker. It came back a little bit more, but there's also a little bit more pressure on Boeing because of the situation that they got going on. But, basically, moving with the market. But Boeing is actually bucking the trend today. And, even if you start off down here and you start to like Boeing, go in small. You don't have to. And I always say percentage-wise because, from someone who could buy 5 shares versus someone who could buy 500 shares. I just want to let you know that you scale in, you kind of build a position down here. You're not kind of cost averaging and expected, but you're building. Use that term, building. Your planned buys, or just maybe a 10% of your, and try to kind of not get into a hole if things go, drastically downhill on this. Because the cash is going to be king for now until you have a good place to put it. And then if it's going down, then there's not many good places to put it unless you're following it to the downside. And let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about shorting the market in this environment. There's two sides of the story. Some people refuse to short the market in a condition like this and profit on people's demise and just this negative environment and profits on negativity. Some people don't. I used to be kind of like that. But I also saw, all right, I'm a shorter term trader. I could shield my conscience and just justify everything and trade. That's my job, and the market's going to have this flow. So I've kind of gotten over that. But I remember having issues like that. I would never trade Altria or stocks I didn't believe in, smoking stocks and things like that. I keep my distance. I wouldn't do it. But then I also sometimes recognize really good money making opportunities and say, wow, maybe I will buy this. I've never seen it so cheap, and we'll get a bounce on it, and we're out of it. And I can still maintain my conscience. So I do like trading the SPY puts on these as a hedge, and I do believe in hedging. And if you do a proper hedge, and you want to not get rid of your longs, but kind of protect them, and you do feel like, oh, I'm in a bad spot here. The market feels so bad.
Tradeometer ES
put that hedge on. Short the market using one of these, either going out buying puts or buying the SPXS or shorting the SPY, whatever. Take or almost even buying the VIX. At one point, you'll feel a little bit better because it'll balance out. Even if the market goes up and those puts go down, you're making your money on the longs. And if the market goes down, you're kind of keeping it level, and you're saying, all right. And in some cases, it could work both ways for you. If the market does pull back and you profit from those hedges, you take those off, you're still holding your stock, and the market goes back up, and those stocks you're holding go back up. You're profiting both ways, and that's the important part of the hedge. It's not just taking a one-sided position. It's you have two sides in the market. You protecting yourself. You're saying, okay, worst case scenario, the market does what it does, and my account pretty much stays neutral. And that's fine. Because you just didn't want to deal. You didn't want to get rid of your longs, but you didn't want to. You sell them, and you weren't sure of the market. You put yourself in a real weird spot.
YM oversold.
That's something you have to consider. The Boeing here, one of those candidates for a slow, gradual entry on Boeing. Can't put a chart to it. Can't other than what we just showed. Netflix, NFLX. Let's go to the daily chart. Any stock that's holding above the 200 period moving average versus what the market is doing is showing relative strength. The market here, SPX here, here's the 200, the red line way up here. Here's the 20 period moving average way up here. 50 period moving average here, all crossing over. Market here very simple. That's the S&P right now. Now we start looking at individual stocks, like what's going to work good with everyone at home. Netflix, of course, but is that already oversaturated? I'm not even a big fan of this trade, even though it is showing some good relative strength. It's actually holding up pretty damn good. But I don't see myself getting in that. VEEV, V-E-E-V here, ended up being on the IBD. It says Health Information Services. It sounds really good. I have to look into a little bit more. I did trade this once. Let me look at it right now. We just had another tradeometer.
Order filled.
And another profit hit. So we have a nice, what's happening right now is a nice divergence. A fast move up and a fast move down takes out the lows. Here, you're kind of above the 20. You just can't really see it when this candle takes out the low. This is turned back up. This is above the 20 here. That's why we're getting that divergence call. It's very hard to see because sometimes I tell newer traders to do a visual confirmation of it, and you can't be as exact as at this point. This is crossing that 20 line, and it's higher than the back here. So that is a divergence, and that's why the bot works well, and sometimes you can't see it. But it is a nice little divergence. So watch for a double bottom bounce here.
Order
also.
filled.
And
Order canceled.
It just took profits. because it came up real tight with a tight stop, and the range is so big, so that's why it's very fast on taking profits there. The I don't want to get sidetracked here. The Vive, yeah, I looked up the Vive here. Vive Systems is a cloud computing company focused on pharmaceutical and life science industry application, headquartered in California. It was founded. It works with software as a service in the global life science industry. Now, I didn't look any further on that. Let's take a look at that chart one more time. It's just acting really well. You know, it's acting here above the 200 period moving average. It's not that far off the highs. It's again not that far off the highs. This has actually been a nice pullback. It actually started moving back up before the corona came out and hit, and this was hanging in there pretty good. It's back above that level. It's flagging out. You know, we had a nice pop. We kind of consolidation. It's actually looking pretty good. There was a divergence back here, as you can see, a dual divergence set up. Everything looks good on this. I mean, this is a longer term downward kind of the channel. It's kind of sloppy. There was some news here. I could probably make that a little bit more interesting now. Let me fix this. It is up there as one of the best charts out there. You know, we don't look at it that much, but it is looking pretty damn good. We even put this out as a breakout. Here's your channel, 1, 2, 3 channel. We got a capitulation move above that, or just a big spike above that, pulled back, and then remember again, here's your example: 1, 2, good pivots, 3, 1, 2, 3 channel gives us a parallel line, extend that all the way. Even though we break through it and come back to it, I keep that trend line. Next time we come up to it, boom, it worked like a charm. Boom, worked like a charm. Boom, 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 broke through it, came back to it, chop, 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 right on the line, back to it, chop, 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 breakout, flag. Looks like the next move will probably be up and away, even though today is kind of extended, and with the daily seems to be kind of rolling over here. So I'd pay attention to this, not yet, but going into next week, it seems to be showing good strength. I am going to put it on the watch list, and I'm going to put an alert on it for 159.50. It looks like 159.50. 159.50. I can't read. Yeah, 159.50. Let me write that down. 59. So that will give us a breakout of that flag. That would have to have some serious strength, and if we get through that level, highs should be coming in pretty fast. It would confirm this downward trend line break. It would probably go against the stochastic level here, which would probably be a very bullish embedded sign. There would be a lot of good things if we broke above this consolidation high. So I will put that on the watch list as a buy. 159.50. Let's do it. All right, here's the Viva Systems. And again, just a nice breakout. It brings us back up to just to look like a great trade. But I would wait at least until we got through the breakout zone, get some momentum behind it. If it starts to break down here, I probably just really want to see that great strength. I think if we get through that buy signal, we're back up towards the highs. This was acting pretty good before the coronavirus came in. It seems to have regained all that and looking to go higher. So first one that we added to that. The medical device makers, everything from heart valves, lungs, stents, artificial stuff, anything that has to do with medical device makers. Medtronic, Boston Scientific. We have a good one here I'm going to look at right now. Zimmer, Biomed Holdings, ZBH, Axonic Modulation Technologies, AXNX. We'll look at these. Now, the Medtronics, we've had a nice trade. We were buying down here. We got a pop. We took most of it off. Still holding some calls out here. And now this was a pullback to a support line here. Like I said, if we have news that breaks us through a major support line, look for the price to come back into this. Was a little divergence. We got back up, we got through the 20, then pulled back and kind of just hanging out here above that level. Now this looks like a great level to me. You know, anything under $80 was a steal. This is trading at 85. Are you gonna, wait for maybe a retest of that line? I don't know. I just think this thing is about to go again and much higher. I'm surprised it hasn't moved up. In the fact that it makes respirators, ventilators, and that they had some good press on the TV, and just that it is being affected like everything else. And these charts on these stocks are very similar, so it's almost like everything gets thrown out with the bathwater. So Medtronic, I like it a lot here. These are some that I would consider getting into. Going forward at these levels. The other one is, and I want to bring this one up, well, I'm just going to look at Boston Scientific for a second, BSX. And again, nice pullback. This seems to be actually holding up a little bit better. You can see the consolidation here. We're kind of pinned up against that 20-period moving average. Just it does look interesting here. I don't see myself getting into it, but this next one I do see myself getting into. I was thinking about taking a position right now, but I am in the middle of this, and I didn't even. Let's just take a look at it first. ZBH, Zimmer Biomet Holdings, and Zimmer Biomet Holdings, I believe they make splints. I think. Let me double check on this right here. I was just looking it up before. And it's not something that attractive. It wasn't a Hollywood type of play here. But, seeing this big move down and this nice pullback, and what I like to do is get that first bounce and that first retracement back. So this falls right into that category. We have that nice move down, that nice bounce up to the 20, and that kind of the nice little retracement back into the bounce zone, about a 50% retracement back into that bounce zone, which puts us right where we are right now. And it's actually hanging in there. It's actually starting to turn back up. This has gone back all the way to 2016 lows. This is actually a very interesting low back here too. I just put in 50% retracement, and you can see it actually lines right up with 2016 lows there. We'll go out let's go out a little bit further on this chart. There's a weekly. Wow, that's a good level. That was the breakout in 2004, 2005. We came back, tested it. Now we're right back at that level. Yeah, going forward, I could see this as a longer term hold. Definitely. I mean, this was acting fine. It was just acting fine. Let's see what it looks like today here. It's not bad. The market's selling off. We're at the lows of the market. This thing here is based nice. It's a very nice base. It's $91. I'll take a look at the options on this. I like this one a lot. Let me take a look here. All right, I'm looking at the ones going out here, going all the way out to June, about 77 days away. And what are we trading at here? 91. The 95s are trading about $8. About $8. That's something that, again, going out 41 days. So I will definitely look at this. Those 95s, there's no volume to them really. There's a spread, but if this thing starts to bounce back up, and there's no doubt these will actually, there's enough time in these to get a nice move. And like I said, the base here, I mean, we might be, if we don't get in today and it gaps up on Monday, we might be leaving it behind. But I'm just going to, again, write this one down. I like it. Just want to pass that on. I like the Medtronics too, MDT. And, waiting for that one to move also, MDT. This is one that, I took a shot on this. I just, again, reviewing it. I don't know if it's an HPS setup here. It's just that I'm picking up Viacom here. I've never really traded it. I just figured we had a nice bounce. We kind of pulling back into that bounce, but it's pushing it back a little bit further. Picked up some, what do I have on this here? Viacom. Did I pick up shares? I picked up, yeah, just 100 shares on this. My cost average 182. What is it? No, it's not 182. Viacom. There's too many stocks. 14 even. So it's down $1 and change. So no HPS on this. I'm watching it. I think I got some options on it too. Did I go get some options out on this? Yeah, I did. I picked up 2 options on it too, going out to June, the 15 calls. So just a small position on that. Not anything worthwhile, but just an update on things that I did pick up this week. Waste management. Picked up waste management this week. This is a little bit better of a company and a much better stock. And think about waste management. Got hit in this environment after it had some really good liftoff here. We traded this pullback, and we actually traded this breakout, and got a little move on it. I didn't hold on to the whole thing. We traded it like we normally trade, but it was a tremendous squeeze right up here, and then everything started rolling over. Then the coronavirus came in, and we continue to see weakness. And this is right down here. It's right down off the corona, where we've been down. It hasn't made new lows, but it's not looking that great yet. We have a small trend line underneath us that go back out to 18. It's a very shallow and flat trend line. But the one thing I noticed on this, it's what we call a coil stochastic channel breakdown. Now, a coil stochastic channel breakdown is an interesting pattern that I put as a playbook play. Meaning, if you could identify a coil where we're making a series of lower highs on the stochastics, four or more, usually after the fourth one, we put enough pressure on that downward trend line. You can almost put a trend line on the stochastics. That's how I usually identify that. It's like just a series of coiled up lower lows, and that pressure is building. And you usually could put an underlying channel on that coil, meaning the price tends to, move down, pop up, roll over, move down, pop up, roll over, move down. And when we get down here, it's a perfect timing area that we know that we're getting very close. The majority of the time, we usually get an explosive move out of a coil, so we can start to plan that by, just the timing of the patterns. So this starts to look really interesting here. Starting getting the position in, building the position, and it's not outperforming the market. It's not doing anything. The markets are down today. This is down today, and maybe it breaks down a little bit further. I would look for some type of reversal on it. Maybe we get some reversal divergences on all these stocks at one point. Maybe we get some capitulation low. Maybe we get some good news. Either way, this is definitely one of those stocks we want to be in when the going gets good again. Because we got a nice discount. It's actually came back all the way down. Let's put in a little line here. So we kind of got out of that breakout zone. Let's take a look at here right here. Yeah, we're in that zone. We're in this area. We won't like it, even if it's not moving today. It is set up across the board. A waste management, probably one of the better bets going into next week. Better bets on waste management going into next week. It's $88 here, about 40 points off the highs, and a coiled stochastic channel breakout setup. Exciting times. Very interesting. Nice. Let's go to the next one. All right, we talked about the MDT, the EXEL. This is again, it's hanging in there. I like it. I like even more that it's hanging in there. Stochastics here kind of rolling over. The momentum here shifted. We got a nice buy. Everything, people were buying this as the market bottomed out, and we bounced. Now we're coming back down. The big trend line here. This is kind of outside the focus of the coronavirus. It's one of these drug companies that people depend on, and they have some trials, and they're supposed to have a lot of catalysts 2020. So with the coronavirus, do those catalysts get pushed back? Possibly. I would say very possibly that there's a lot of backlog on this FDA stuff as other things have become more of a priority. So it's the timeline on this is going to be a little different, even though we were looking for some results, coming out soon on, this stock and many other stocks. These results from the clinical trials are going to be delayed. You just got to figure they are going to be delayed. Nothing's not going to be affected here. The market's here starting to rally up a little here. But this is holding up pretty good. Like I said, I expect this overall to break out of this channel line. Again, when the market corrects or gets back into a rhythm to the upside, when people are back in, this should be one of those stocks that break out of their channel. So biding your time. This is going to be a great, great trade. I think you got 10 points in this in the future. Is it right now? No, it's not right now, and there's overhanging stuff. But I would keep this on the list each and every day, and we start to see this. And this one has the potential of getting news and gapping up, too. So I have options going all the way out to next January on this. It kind of protects me on, hopefully it protects me on these swings. We are going to, get some degrade in those prices. But overall, I'm happy with the position here on the XCL and would buy some common stock here probably next week, EXCL. Technically, an HPS setup. Yeah, I'd like this one a lot to put it on there, but technically there's not a technical breakout level that I would be more bullish. I just think you got to buy the pullbacks here. We have a nice channel. And speaking about that one, I looked at Veru again today, and VERU. It's actually been holding up pretty good, and they have some drugs in the pipeline too that are supposed to be doing really well. Another thing, it's kind of weird to mention, but they also have this product, the female condom, birth control. And then people are saying that condoms are flying off the shelves because what are people doing? They're not doing anything. They're home. So people are quarantined and homed. They might be taking advantage of the alone time a lot more. So I heard that condoms are being, a couple of articles, that I'm seeing, and I said, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I put two and two. Well, Veru puts out this female condom. If those condom makers are gonna, see bigger growth, then Veru actually might see bigger growth on their female condom, even though the bigger picture is their cancer drug. But remember, they do have a product, and this might actually be positive for them in one way, in a slight weird way. It's holding the 200. Still watching it. Still holding it. I started getting back into it under $3. So anywhere around this 290 to 250, I think it's a good level. VERU. Where's Berkshire Hathaway been these days? Where's Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett might be planning something big. He might be planning to take over the world because he's ghosted. He's ghosted the market. You don't hear anything about him. The guy with all the cash and all the deals and stuff. You wonder if there's things on sale that he's making some deals with. Or he just bunkered down and not doing anything. If someone like Warren Buffett and sees an opportunity like this on many, many, many companies, airlines and stuff, he's already a big investor in the airlines, but he could pull something out of his hat and it'll be positive for Berkshire Hathaway, and it will be positive, and it probably would look good for the stock going higher. So, this you gotta consider something like Berkshire Hathaway longer term. DGX, ask me. So why is this one doing so bad in the face that they do testing? They got on board doing the corona test, the COVID test. They are a testing facility. They're a lab. All this sounds great for a stock like this. Especially going forward in the future if they're coming out and doing their test. But it's not. It's actually showing some weakness here. Now I haven't looked into the reasoning. I'm not in this stock, but I've traded it before. But just seeing the weakness on there, it just makes me wonder. Now, there is a lower trend line way back here, and we're getting down to it, and that would be a buy signal for me. When I see a trend line like this, at this angle, And this level, this is worth putting on the watch list with a buy trigger down at that level. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that zone right here. Am I on a daily? Am I on a daily? I'm still on the daily. We're going to use that zone down there. Let me zoom in here. Yeah, that's a negative candle. We get a negative gap down towards that level, or anywhere down in that 67 under 70 level. That is it's going to be interesting here, and I'm going to put that on the list right now. That looks good. Let's do that. All right, here we have the Quest Diagnostics. Oh, sorry for the ad that popped up there. The Quest Diagnostics. Good channel. I like it a lot here. Again, in our zone. It definitely has to be in our zone. So that one is on the watch list too. We're going to continue on. Just an update on the market as we come into the last half an hour. And look at these big little spikes. Spiked up, pulled back, spiked up, pulled back, spiked up, pulled back. Now kind of drifting here. Veru here had a little pop at the end of the end of the day here, pushing back up over $3. And believe it or not, Lixty here I saw on my screen here is up nice. It's back up 99 cents. I mean, it's a pretty big spread on that, 76 to 99 cents, and not. But overall, I mean that one is no volume really. But I just was looking at the chart. It's actually holding. It's not selling off. I tell you that much. That's kind of interesting. But there's no real volume in this at all. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm still holding on to it. A few thousand shares of this from 18 cents. So I'm sitting pretty good on this. The markets, again, kind of just choppy here. And again, going into the last hour of the day, we'll see how it closes out. I want to continue on with the list here. Now, Dexcom, a tight stops favorite here. Got to put it on the list. It's just one of those strong stocks. Diabetes stocks. Diabetes not going away. Holding good strength. Above the 200 period moving average. It recently got oversold here. So we have a lot of things that are setting up. It has a slight pullback. Remember, when we see a stock doesn't really pull back a lot, and the stochastics here rotate back down from an extreme overbought level to an extreme oversold level, yet the price doesn't really reflect that. Here we had an overbought level down to an oversold level, and we had a much bigger move down. Normally we have that big move down. Here we have a nice rotation, but we didn't really see that move down. That's quite bullish for me, unless there's some news out there that comes out negative on the stock. This looks technically, the momentum here is holding up pretty good, and I would expect this to actually push higher. Now this is actually the 60-minute time frame. I just noticed, not the daily, but the 60s are, that's not a bad time frame to mess around with. Let's take a look at the daily here. Yeah, the daily is kind of extended, but actually trying to push back up a little. I think I meant to show you the daily in the beginning, because here's the 200, here's the daily, here's the 50, here's the 20, here's all-time highs. It's a flag. It's consolidated. It had a nice pop yesterday, and it's just consolidated inside the previous candle. Tried to get a little bit higher. It actually put in a higher high and a higher low. So a lot of positives on this. And now, talking about going into Monday, that 60-minute time frame will be set up on Monday. So we will have a potential buy zone here based on the shorter time frame on DXCM. And again, quality name and really holding up pretty good. Again, you could easily put this one on as a buy trigger above 279, 280 just for a pushback up to the highs, and probably moving higher because this one has not been affected too much. Remember the PODD? Just curious to how the pod's doing. Yeah, pod's actually holding in there pretty good above the 200 period moving average. Very similar. They should move together. Very interesting there. Mark, we've been waiting for that Mark temperature reading stock. It's not much going on there. It's just drifted here. We're waiting for some type of, again, any type of gap up. Maybe we get a gap up on Monday. They put out a release saying they sold something, or someone's applying their technology in their store. That should get us a nice little bounce, but I would sell right into that bounce. It's just there's tons of sellers in this. It's hanging in there, and I think it's hanging in there because people are expecting, some type of news that someone will, pop this stock for some reason. All right, next one, Dexcom. Oh, so I do have a short. I do like. Remember, I told you I put in for a short. I realized I got that short, an apron, APRN. So I am now currently short apron. Now I don't have many short. I only took a short here on 50 shares, but I also ended up picking up some puts on this too going out. So my puts are, where are they here? APRN. There they are. Going out to May. And I paid $5.69 for them. And again, just a couple of puts here. I paid $5.69 going out to May. I expect this to kind of get back down under $6 pretty fast. Now, again, we're still in the this could go against me easily. They very easily go against me. That's why I didn't want to be a big position. The puts have a limited, it has risk. The risk on there is limited because of the, it can only go to zero. But the stocks, the short on the stock, this could be a little painful if it did pop. That's why I only got a few shares here. If they came out with some kind of news saying, all right, we're going to be doing this or that, or someone's going to implement that. But overall, all these coronavirus stocks that were just, the true colors were here. No one was using it. Now they're, taking advantage of the situation. But, if this clears up, look for this to get cut in half pretty fast. That would be $6. I mean, I would, if I could somehow short this and go on a desert island, come back in a year, this would probably be back down to $2-3. So that's my only short right now in apron. That's kind of still a risky short. APRN. Let's take a look at the stocks here. Now, I am in the CH. There's a couple penny stocks that we picked up last week. The CHFS, the TMDI we sold. We got a pop. The DFFN we sold. We got a pop on that. That's actually, let's take a look at that one, DFFN. Because I see it's still moving here, but I'm not in it anymore. So we had that pop, and we sold into that pop. It's actually bouncing a little today. But that was a great pop. Got a double on that. The couple of the stocks that are looking pretty good. This SLNO had this nice bounce recently. It's kind of consolidated now. It had a little pop yesterday and get sold off. So we are starting to rotate back down. Just watching that. Haven't added to that. The other cheap ones that we picked up, what was that one here? I have it underneath my screen here. The MTP and the C. Let me write that down. MTP, CHFS. A couple other ones I picked up last week. Just, again, 3 of those we picked up looking for maybe some kind of mention of a corona effect. And this one's not doing medical devices. It's hanging in there. I mean, nothing's going on. It had a pop yesterday and it kind of pulled back. Still, 42 cents. I'm not really worried about it. MTP. God, it's my MTD. My what the hell is it? My writing, MTP. My P looks like a D on my screen. God, what am I? And just kind of drifting here. So I was hoping for a little better pop, but it did roll over. I'm holding on to it. It's one of those, again, speculative stocks. It's $1.31. Some of these, They're lottery tickets. Just an update on that. The Budweisers of the world, the Exxon Mobils, we traded those. XOM, we had a great trade on that. We took profits into that news yesterday, and that seemed to be the perfect way of taking profits. I said, I don't want to be part of this. I just want to get a bounce on it, and I probably won't get into it unless there's another big opportunity to be seen on that. Now the market here is starting to sell off a little. We're starting to sell here into the close. Merck here looks good going out further, but we are starting to see some selling now. Boeing back down here under 120 through 124, 121. What price is that? 124 to 123 right now. And the mark here. So that's it. That's as far as we're going to go. We got 2 new ones on. Let's take a look at the HBS watch list. And I haven't added the charts. I did show you the charts, and we did everything else we could do with this. Let's just take a look at the setups here. So here's the HBS watch list from last week to this week, and the previous weeks. You can see pretty nice. We nailed some of these stocks really nice. So the UNH, we didn't mention the UNH. I still like this one a lot. Let's take a look at it. Now, we came down to the lower trend line, and we bounced right up really quickly. Hit our targets, probably the first or second day of that. Now it's kind of pulling back into the channel a bit. I want to continue to watch this one, even though it did hit our targets. So just an update on that. The Spxl, we had a great trade on that. That was for our bounce play. When we were talking about the bounce in the market, this was our bounce play off the lower trend line. This is something very similar to the DGX. Now, when you get a lower trend line set up like that and a support line, we came down, we tagged our entry level right there. If I zoom in, you could probably see it a little bit better. But that candle came down and tagged our entry.
Tradometer NQ
Bounced
oversold.
up here, big bounce up. This is actually on the weekly chart. You're seeing this on the weekly chart, because I wanted to show you that weekly reversal candle. And we do have the weekly reversal candle, and it takes time for those weeklies to kind of reverse. But this could hold. The weekly setup here. Let's actually look at the weekly on a different chart here, because that was good. So now we have a whole different time frame we're working on. And here's that reversal. Came down, hit our buy zone, bounced up, took profits. Now this week, we have been pulling back a little. We're still holding, yesterday's week's candle. What's positive out of this? Well, we have a higher low from last week's low, and we also have a higher high. It looks like, yeah, we have a little higher high, and we're again right on that trend line. Next week is going to be interesting. If there's any type of good news, just a hair of a change of course here, and the scientists are on top of this. Right? Think about this. The scientists have projected this, and they're doing the calculations, and everyone's doing their equations of how fast this is spreading, where the peak should be in time-wise. And they're saying another 2 weeks at least before we see a peak. All right. But for whatever reason, when we do get that, and if it happens a little early, or it happens, as it starts to approach, we might see the market buy the rumor of something positive about to happen. That is why I'm kind of hesitant on, taking that short into the weekend here. Haven't decided yet if I was going to reshort, hold some shorts into the weekend or not. I'm probably going to not do that. Because all we need is some little touch of positive, a ray of sunshine here in this market here, could really move fast and up. The hedge idea that we mentioned earlier today is a great one, though. I mean, as a hedge, you can't deny there's protection to be had in hedges, and it could save you and kind of. But with my situation, with most of my calls and stuff and smaller positions, I want to ride this into next week and see how we open up next week before taking any big shorts or anything. other than the apron, which is going to be a tough one. It's just I have my personal battle with them. As we all have our personal battles with stocks sometimes. The mayor is on here on TV, and that's probably causing a little market flush here. So we're going to have this out here again. Let's go back to the HPSs. Recent HPS watches. The Spxl worked out. The Raytheon here. Let's go to the Raytheon. That's what's great about the HPS is that we're going to have, here was Raytheon, the lower trend line, something I was interested in. But the truth is, this only had a top trend line. Look at the top trend line here. We had a 1 pivot, 2 pivot, and a 3rd pivot down here. So we made a parallel channel line. We chopped around that channel line. This is a really good, this trend line is the active trend line. That's why I have a target on that trend line. Now this trend line target will adjust as the target goes down, as the trend line goes down. But if we zoom out here a bit, you can see that this pivot over there was a small little pivot here, and we connected that pivot, and we extended down, and this is where we ended up being at, right on that trend line. But I wanted to see if we could get a little further move down. You see how we bounced, and when I put out the alert, I was saying, all right, let's get a retest of that trend line, and if possible, maybe a move down. So this whole area was a buy zone, and as you can see, it popped before that, but now it's coming back down to it. So this is still active going into next week. If we could get down to this zone, it will trigger before that. But remember now, you just have an area around $180. This 20 point area, which is, that does look pretty enticing. So don't go in in full 100% position here right around this trend line, but understand there is a good opportunity there. Wait for something to resolve itself, maybe a reversal candle, maybe a switch up on the momentum. Maybe we see some volume coming in, maybe there's change in news, but we're getting very close to a buy zone on this one. Very close to a buy zone on Raytheon. I don't know how that, if I will take advantage of that one or not. Big pop in the market right now. What time is it? We have 10 minutes to go. Could be some, I don't know if there's any news. I got Bellagio on the background here. 15,000 ventilators are needed. So I would say these are shorts here covering. But we've been seeing this a lot. That's one reason I don't want to be short, and yet I don't want to be, I just want to maintain the position right here. Big pop in the market right now. Big pop. Now, we had some great conversations this week on the show. We really did. People have theories on how this thing is going to play out. We have, the cast of characters, and I don't know. We always have some people who are more optimistic and more people who are more pessimistic. I think I follow on the optimistic part of things. I feel like this will resolve itself and will be better for it. Just picture, when we do get through the hill, we'll be prepared better. Our confidence going forward, especially when we get a vaccine or some kind of being able to handle this type of crisis, could only be a positive. The negative is right now, but that will soon end. And it's just getting through this, and we'll work as a team to get through it. As a race, as a community. This will be behind us before we even know it. And at that point, the market's not going to wait until the final call before moving up. It's going to move up before that level. So as of right now, the stocks that we mentioned today, we kind of focused on those positives, the Mercs, the XLs, these other ones. Let me go back to the other list here because I just wanted to take a look and again, like I said, follow the market as we close up here. All right, so that was that. So we did that. Uber was a great trade. I actually traded the Uber, and we had this beautiful trade off of this. And again, what was it? Another lower trend line, which we broke down through. So we look for a retracement to the trend line and then a bounce. Let's take a look at how that worked out. Well, that first day we got a tag of that trend line. The first day. Can't really, it's so tight that the first day we looked at that, we pushed right up into our target. And now we're starting to rotate back. What I would like to see here is a retracement about, maybe back down to 20. If we get back down to that trend line, I would do the same thing. It's actually looking interesting again today as a reversal candle plays out. Let's just take a fast look at the Uber. And again, that's another stock that should rebound nice. Recent IPO. People are not Ubering around. I mean, that's, of course, this stock is going to have some negative guidance and negative earnings and everything else. It's going to be really bad. But again, this will probably be the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst is happening right now. We'll continue to watch it. That trade is done and passed, but I will continue to look for another good position on that. MDT, same thing. Love it. We had a nice trade on this. This was our buy zone. We were right in that buy zone, and we popped right up into it. It happened so fast again. It just happened so fast. That last 2 weeks of watch list, actually 2 weeks ago when we put this last one out, it was explosive. Right back up to the trend line. Now it's pulled back. It's chopping around. Like I said, I like it down here. Anything under $80, I think is a buy on this. Budweiser, we missed that. I was liking the Budweiser down here. I was hoping to get a little further flush, but what really was telling me that we might not get that was that reversal candle. It was a nice reversal candle, and this was also on the weekly chart. I was probably hoping up again. This is a huge reversal, so you could see what happened off of that. The next week we started moving back up, and again, this is the weekly chart. It's not the daily chart. Let's take a look at the daily on this. BUD. All right. That's the weekly. You can see the bounce, the weekly reversal. Let's take a look at the daily, though. Now, the daily, we zoom way out here. There's a huge, huge trend line down here. It's two pivot areas back here. It came down. We almost bounced it perfectly off there. We came up to this other trend line. We seem to be consolidating a bit here. It's actually pretty bullish. I mean, there's some good stocks down here. All right, so Budweiser is still active. Merck is active right now. I mean, our target has been hit. I mean, our entry zone has been hit. It is active. This is a buy zone, a buy trigger, meaning that it activates once we get through that green line. So this is our first trade through the green line. We pushed up towards the trend line here. Continue to look for this to break out of this downward trend line. I think we're in good shape on this. It actually had some positive data the other day. It seems to be holding up really strong. I think most of the stocks that are coming out with some positive FDA data, are kind of being pressured down. And once this, they're going to have to play some catch up. So this is currently active. I still have some Merck. I like Merck a lot. And this is our target. So it is continuing to look pretty good. And it's consolidating nice. All right, Merck, ADS and FLS. I had to take these off. These were old, and they never hit their levels. This was before I got to actually take those off now, and nothing else here really. The DuPont, that's an old one too. So we're going to add some new ones to it. We're adding the DGX, which looks great. I also like that ZBH, Zimmer. DGX, Zimmer, I got to get up there still. and VEEV, VEEV. All right. I think that's going to be it for today. We're going to watch the close here. We moved up to that VWAP. Nice pop to the VWAP. But now seeing some selling coming back in here. The ZBH here actually looking pretty good. Like I said, I should probably take a position in that, or was I going to wait on this? But it's starting to move now from 91 to 92. Damn it. All right. Let me see what I want to do. We even had a little pop there on the EXEL. All right, I want to just wait until Monday here, but this one is definitely high on the list. The ZBH, the MDT, the MRK, the Waste Management, EXEL, the VEEV, and the DGX, all high on the list going into next week. That's it. That's going to be a wrap for the watch list. Again, I want to just give a big shout out to everyone out there and say thank you for the support here at the site, and I'm glad everyone could, work together as a community and do well. And I'll see everyone in the markets on Monday, and futures open up Sunday. It'll give us our first clue of how things are going to happen, what's going to happen next week. Sunday markets and futures open at 6 p.m. We cover those. We'll have the charts up. We'll have everything working for you. Have a great weekend, everyone. And if you have any questions or anything, you can reach me here at DTRS at DayTradingRadio.com, DTRS at DayTradingRadio.com. And we'll see you then.